Hi everyone, I'm BJ Muir from JesusHelpMeParent.com, and I coach families just like yours to use a heart-based approach to parenting. So if you want practical parenting solutions that help bring about a lasting change of heart in your child rather than just temporary behavior changes, hit that subscribe button right now. And in today's video, we're going to be answering the question, how do I get my child to stop arguing with me? And it comes to us in an email I received from Sally. Sally writes, "Hi BJ, please help. Our 7-year-old son has started talking back a lot. Whenever he's corrected, he proceeds to tell you why he did what he did. When he's told no, he proceeds to argue about why you should say yes. For example, he was just asking if he could have an apple. His dad said no because he just had lunch and dinner isn't too far away. He argued that he didn't have enough for lunch. Then he argued that he isn't allowed to have fruit with dinner. These battles over such small things wear us down. Sometimes we end up giving in to end it. No matter what, it ends in frustration and often arguing. Our son's very confident and would argue with you if you told him the sky is blue because it's actually light blue. He's like that with everyone. My parents, child's grandparents, my parents even mentioned before that he's always correcting them, even on small things like that, and it really feels disrespectful. Any ideas? We're at a loss." Absolutely, we've got some ideas. Do you know a kid like this at your house? I know some. So let's talk about this. So first, what is this kid telling us through words and actions? If we can step back for a moment and just look at the words this child's using that Sally's reporting to us here, and the actions this child is taking, we can learn a lot about this kid. So right away, I see a kid who is pretty intelligent, has some advanced language skills to be able to debate things or to notice the difference between blue and light blue. A kid who has a fairly independent streak to him, and a kid who has a desire to be correct, to be right, to be accurate, to be precise. Those are all some great heart qualities to have if they're molded in the right direction. But I also see a kid who's struggling with flexibility. You can't have an apple right now. We're about to have dinner in a little while. Can't handle the answer no. And we all know how important it will be as this kid grows up to be able to handle the answer no, because you're going to get told no by lots of different people in your life at different times. So I see a child who's struggling with flexibility, a child who's struggling with hearing no and just accepting it. We have a kid here who hasn't learned how to respectfully disagree, who feels the need to offer a counterpoint or explain his thinking over and over and over again, even when it may be doing harm to the relationship at that point. The second question that we want to ask is, what's going on inside this kid's heart? What's going on deep down a heart level? If we're going to really have a heart-based approach to parenting, and we're going to look for heart change and not just behavior change, we need to figure out what's going on inside the heart. So we want to look at our child's conscience. We know that the Bible tells us that the conscience resides in the heart. The Bible also tells us that the conscience has 4 different areas. And when I think about the 4 areas of the conscience, I see the area of dealing with wrongs as the area that this kid is really struggling with. This kid is struggling with obedience. This kid's struggling with respect. This kid's struggling with teachability and being responsive to authorities in his life. Those are all things that are going on inside the conscience, inside that part of the conscience that deals with wrongs. So we don't have to just settle for that and say, okay, well, this is what it is in this kid's conscience. No. Now we go about bringing about heart change and coaching our kid to help them grow in this area. The third question, though, is what should we do as parents? Now, I want to start off by reminding you, there's no one perfect way to parent. There are lots of great ways to parent kids. And that's because we're all different as parents, and our kids are all different as well. God made each one of us unique and special, and He's given us different tools to use and different strengths as parents and as kids. And so we need to use that diversity, the beauty in that diversity, to parent our kids as they need to be parented. So, first thing we want to do, though, we're going to give you a bunch of ideas here, and you're going to use a lot of them, and you're going to tailor them, though, to your kid. The first thing you're going to do is avoid the boxing ring. Your kid is trying to get in the boxing ring with you. Have you ever felt like your kid's just trying to draw you into the fight? In this case, this kid might say things like, well, why do I have to do it? Right? Or well, that's not the way you do it. Or, well, that's not... They start the debate. We want to avoid the debate. Our kid's looking for an argument. And really, we want to teach our kid that when we give an instruction, you say, okay, mommy, or okay, daddy, and you go get started. Now is not the time to ask why. We can talk about that at some later point, way in the future, after obedience has happened. But really, you need to start cooperating right away by saying, okay, mom, or okay, dad. The questioning is starting to try to get us in the boxing ring, and we want to avoid the boxing ring. We want to show our kids we're not in the boxing ring. We're actually outside the boxing ring in your corner as your coach, trying to help you with life. And what you're trying to box is sin. We want to help you with that. So avoid the boxing ring as much as possible. Don't take the bait and get into the argument. Instead, you want to start using what I call the redo. The redo is a simple, planned, canned response you're going to have when your kid starts going down that track. When you tell your kid that they need to do this or they need to do that, and they start saying, but why do it? You're just going to look and say, whoops, that's not the way to respond. Try again, but with respect. Or, whoops, that's not the way to cooperate. Try again. Something like that. I mean, make the language your own, but you're just going to give them, it's almost like a little smoke detector warning. Like, whoops, try that again. That ain't working. There's a problem here, right? And there's no emotion. You're not yelling at the kid. You're just helping that kid remember, because they're trying to break a habit now. They have a heart tendency to respond to instructions and discussions in this way, and we're trying to change them to that way. So they're going to need reminders. And so we're going to do something like, whoops, try that again. But this time, with cooperation or with respect, whatever language you want to use there. That redo is a warning to your kid to make a different plan and change. Now, if your kid doesn't take the warning, if they persist, now you got to move to a break. And if you're not so sure what the break is, I teach a specific break routine through my coaching program with parents. It comes right from the National Center for Biblical Parenting. No, it's not time out. Time out has a lot of flaws in it, the traditional version of time out. The break really is looking to make our child have a change of heart. And if you want more information on the break, go ahead and find the link in the description down below to the video we have on the break. And if you're more interested in working with me to kind of implement the break and lots of other routines over the course of like 8 to 10 weeks, get some intensive parent support for you, you can find a link down below to my email address and some more information about our coaching program. But when our kid is not responding to the redo, we don't want to just keep redoing, because that's not going in the right direction. We need to send the message, this ain't working, kid. We need to be a bit firm here. You need to go to break. You need to go have a seat over there. You need to think about what did you do that was wrong, why it was wrong, what are you going to do next time? And then come on back and we'll debrief that break together. Now, if we're going to expect our child to change the way he or she is responding to us, to start responding with cooperation, with respect, we need to teach them that too. We need to use the teaching tool in our parenting toolkit to teach them, here's the way you should respond. We want to have a little staff meeting with our kid and talk about this issue. Say, you know what? I've noticed that you're really smart, and you can go through some of the things I listed in this video. I noticed how smart you are. I noticed you really are a thinker. You really care about things being accurate and precise, and that's a great quality to have in your heart. But I also noticed you tend to use it to delay cooperation, and that's where it becomes trouble for you. So I want to show you how to respond the right way. And you just show your kid, this is what you should say. When I say this, here's what you want to say. Remember yesterday when I gave you this instruction and you started talking about this and asking all these questions? How should you have responded there? Let's fix that one up. Okay, yeah, that's the right way. Let's practice it right now. Let's pretend I'm going to give you an instruction, and you just say, okay, mom, or okay, dad, or whatever it is you teach your kid to say when you give them an instruction. Finally, we need to correct some thinking errors for this kid here. This kid is thinking that I'm on equal footing with my authorities, that my being right is more important than being respectful, that my being right excuses my disrespect, and that this doesn't have an impact on relationships. We need our kid to see, no, this has a big impact on relationships. When you're disrespectful, when you're not cooperating, when you're constantly making a battle out of every last little detail in life, it starts to affect relationships. People start to withdraw from you. People don't feel connected with you. People have negative feelings about that, and we want to change that. We want to make relationship the top priority because Jesus makes relationships the top priority in his kingdom. And so we want to work on the relationship here, and that starts with you cooperating. Now, you might be saying, what about my child who has a valid point to make or a question about something I'm saying? Something about that. First of all, there are times where we want to have the opportunity for our kid to appeal to us because they have some other thought involved that might impact. But this is not a kid who's ready for us to teach on that. That's a whole nother skill set we need to teach. This kid isn't ready for that because this kid hasn't mastered just cooperating. The second thing, when your child has a question about an instruction, that's fine, but they need to start off with saying, okay, mom, or okay, dad, and then asking the question. So we want to teach our kid, hey, if you got a question about my instruction, you're more than welcome to ask it. Please say, okay, mom, okay, dad, or whatever it is you want them to say to acknowledge that they are going to follow through with cooperation on this. Finally, there's 2 warnings I want to give you about this situation. First of all, when you lose your cool, you lose your right to speak into a situation. When your child and you are going back and forth over something, when you feel like, oh, it's over and over and over, every single direction I give, I got to explain it more and answer questions why, you can easily lose your cool. And when you do, you lose your right to speak into the situation because your child sees you blowing up, and now they can focus on your blow up rather than their sin. And they can think, of course I didn't obey. Of course I didn't do the right thing. Look how they're treating me. And they can stop focusing on themselves and the change they need to do in the heart, and they can start talking about you. The second warning is that it's very easy to get harsh when we have to repeat ourselves during busy times. When we're trying to get out the door, for example, and we're buckling our baby into the car seat and we're making sure water bottles are filled before we head out so we can take them with us, and we got to make sure we have the purse and the diaper bag and everything else, and we tell our older kids, hey, go get your coats on, we're heading out. And one of our kids looks and says, don't you mean light jacket? It is a bit warmer today in the spring, Mom. It's really easy to explode at that moment and get harsh at that moment because we're so busy, we didn't need that. And that kid may have been saying it innocently. That kid may have been not saying it so innocently. Whatever it is, though, don't lose our cool. Don't get harsh at that moment. Those transitions can make or break us. Those are real stressful moments, those little 5 and 10 and 15-minute gaps of time where we're in transition. So be careful, be on guard with your heart as a parent during those transition times. They're some of the most challenging there are as parents. I hope this video helped you a ton. Again, check out the links down below in the description. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.